This is the motion that was passed. I'm going to read some of it to you. This is how it was presented to City Council. It's called Ramping Up Vancouver's Climate Action in Response to the Climate Emergency, and it was submitted by that Councillor Boyle. Let me read it to you. Let me just intro it a little bit. I mean, climate emergency. You know, I don't feel like it's an emergency, do you? Because no one in the world is acting like it's an emergency, and by that I mean the people who claim it's an emergency. They still jet around, they still drive around. In fact, the UN's global warming conferences are always in exotic locales around the world with tens of thousands of very important people coming to them by jet plane as opposed to, I don't know, even talking online over Skype or something. Vancouver's a great airport. It's one of the busiest airports in Canada. I love that airport. Many long-range routes to the Pacific Rim. It's never been busier. The biggest coal port on the west coast of North America is right there off Vancouver. A lot of American coal comes up there by train and then it's put onto ships to places like China. So no one in Vancouver seems to be acting like it's a climate emergency. None of the city councillors are, other than virtue signaling. So it's an emergency for virtue signaling. But here's what they say. Let me read the motion. Ready? Whereas the British Columbia government declared a provincial state of emergency in 2018 over record-setting wildfires. Okay, so that's the whereases, that's the rationale. Let's stop there for a second. Wildfires are an emergency. You could burn your house, you could lose your house. But that's a firefighting emergency. And in the case of British Columbia, it's a crime emergency. Here's a new story. 29 huge fires in BC in the past 4 years were caused by criminal arsonists. Do you see that? 29 wildfires set by crooks. So you can't just say that an arson is global warming. Well, I mean, I guess the people who think they ended the nuclear arms race with a street sign might, but that's not a global warming thing. I'll keep going. Their next whereas is the legislature of British Columbia and the House of Commons of Canada acknowledged the growing crisis of climate breakdown by holding emergency debates following the release of the October 2018 IPCC report. Well, if a political debate, if politicians talking about something isn't proof that something is a real emergency, I don't know what is. Here's their third proof point. Local governments around the world are taking new actions to avoid the worst impacts of climate breakdown. That's a new phrase, isn't it? And calling on senior levels of government for a more urgent emergency response. So far, their rationale for declaring an emergency is a bunch of arson-caused fires, very important politicians debating in other legislatures, and very important politicians calling for an emergency. So I guess it's settled. It's pretty circular, isn't it? That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a video monologue and then I interview an interesting guest and then I end by reading my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at the Rebel.media/shows.